Karen, Moskow.
Karen, we are seeing stabilization in the markets this morning, but it follows another sell-off on Wall Street. The numbers are not pretty. Tech stocks experienced their biggest one-day plunge since 2022, erasing $1.1 trillion in market value. Let's get the very latest with Bloomberg's John Tucker. John.
And Nathan, Monday's market plunge came as the Trump administration warns of a period of transition and detox for the economy. Economist Dennis Gartman sees it this way.
I think that the economy, no question, is going into recession.
The Nasdaq 100 index plunged 3.8%. Amy Wu Silverman at RBC is waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Are we going to get to that second tier of fear?
The Nasdaq 100 down 12.4% from its market high. That's a correction. The S&P 500 flirting with correction, down to 8.6% from its record set only last month. Max Wasserman at Miramar Capital says investors are still trying to gauge the impact of the Trump trade war.
In the meantime, an uncertainty. Who wants to pay 30, 40 times for these tech earnings right now?
The Bloomberg Magnificent 7 Index, an equal-weighted gauge of the biggest U.S. tech stocks, tumbled 5.4% to bring its rout from a December record to more than 20%. Tesla alone tumbled 15%, widening its loss this year to 45%, while NVIDIA lost 5.1%. That has erased more than $1 trillion in market value in just 2 months. The unpredictable tariff policies also spurring risk aversion. Government bonds globally, they're rallying as bets on U.S. exceptionalism start to fade. In New York, I'm John Tucker, Bloomberg Radio.
All right, John, thank you. Well, we are seeing the fallout from the recent U.S. stock sell-off. Citigroup is downgrading its view on U.S. equities while upgrading China to overweight, citing attractive valuations, government support for the tech sector, and a technology breakthrough. The divergence in outlook between the U.S. and China is growing, with Chinese equities performing well this year, while U.S. equities have lost 4.5% so far this year. Well, Nathan, when Donald Trump took office on January 20th, he was flanked by some of the wealthiest people. Now, new figures from Bloomberg's Billionaires Index show 5 of those billionaires have lost a combined $209 billion in wealth since Inauguration Day. Elon Musk has been hit the hardest, losing some $148 billion. Amazon founder Jeff Bezos is down $29 billion. Google co-founder Sergey Brin is worse off by $22 billion, while Mark Zuckerberg and LVMH boss Bernard Arnault are both down $5 billion.
And those losses, Karen, come as President Trump gets ready to meet today with the country's top business leaders. Mary Nicola is a Bloomberg Markets Live strategist.
He needs to highlight his pro-growth policies. Heading into the Trump administration and after he won, businesses were actually quite optimistic about the future, given deregulation and what some of his policies would be that would be favorable to businesses. But businesses are now worried. They're now worried about the outlook of the economy. They're worried about tariffs. So he'll need to address these recession concerns, and that his plans will be more limited, and it really is a short-lived adjustment period, because otherwise you could see this spiral into something even bigger and deeper losses for the markets.
Bloomberg's Mary Nicola notes that President Trump will meet today with the Washington-based Business Roundtable. Cisco CEO Chuck Robbins chairs the organization. J.P. Morgan Chase's Jamie Dimon and Citigroup's Jane Fraser among the bank leaders on the roundtable's board of directors.
Nathan, now let's get to the latest on the war in Ukraine. Russia says it shot down 337 Ukrainian drones overnight, including 74 aimed at the capital, Moskow. It appears to be the largest attack on Russian territory in the 3-year war, and it comes as Ukrainian officials meet with the U.S. and Saudi Arabia to discuss ways to end the conflict. Again, those talks are underway right now, but Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan reports the U.S. is downplaying anything major coming out of this meeting.
We saw Secretary of State Marco Rubio come out and say, look, we're not looking for a major breakthrough here. The U.S. is basically in a position where it's listening, trying to see what's possible, especially in terms of concessions. He did say that he expects concessions from both sides, and that could include territorial concessions from Ukraine, which will be quite hard for them to swallow.
And as President Trump pushes for a ceasefire, Bloomberg's Greg Sullivan reports he's sending Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff to Moscow this week to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin.
Karen, talks between the U.S. and China on trade may be getting stuck. Sources tell Bloomberg News the discussions are bogged down at lower levels, with both sides talking past each other on how to proceed. Officials in Beijing say the U.S. has not given detailed steps on what it needs to do about fentanyl to have tariffs lifted. President Trump's team says it has been clear that it wants China to stop sending precursor chemicals to Mexico, to give smugglers the death penalty, and to run a front-page article in the People's Daily newspaper condemning the fentanyl trade.
Well, in Washington, Nathan, a stopgap funding bill, or clean CR, looks likely to pass Congress today and avert a government shutdown on Friday. Bloomberg's Amy Morris has the details from Washington.
The Republican spending bill is designed to keep government agencies open through September 30th. Representative Don Beyer, a Democrat from Virginia, talked about the options and the worries that the president will unilaterally delay or cancel appropriations, called impoundment.
Unless there are meaningful guardrails to keep Trump from impounding it, we should vote no in the Democrats in the Senate and hopefully some Republicans in the Senate.
Virginia Democratic Representative Don Beyer on Bloomberg's Balance of Power. House Republicans could pass this on their own if they get enough votes from their own caucus, but even after it passes the House, it still has to get through the Senate. In Washington, Amy Morris, Bloomberg Radio.
And that's news when you want it with Bloomberg News Now. I'm Karen Moskow.
I'm Nathan Hager, and this is Bloomberg.